Well, kia ora everyone, and welcome to another episode of Storby's Little Big Business, where we give you tips and tricks on how to make your little business be big. I, of course, am Ruben. You'll remember me from such episodes as the last one. And today I'm joined by a very special guest, Zamil Solanki, who has agreed to come along and have a chat to us today all around pharmacy and business and how you can make the most of the opportunities that are available to you in that space. Zamil, thanks so much for joining me.
Ruben, great to be here, mate. Great to connect across borders and international waters. So yeah.
Yeah, of course. So how are things across the ditch at the moment?
Yeah, good. Really good. We've just come out of a little circuit breaker lockdown, which went for about 4 days. I'm based in Brisbane, so quite blessed in, I guess, compared to like our residents down south in Victoria, who have done a lot tougher than us. So yeah, look, life is good.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. Hey, so just for the people who aren't familiar with you, I mean, obviously I know what you do, but not everyone will. So give us just what's the elevator pitch? What do you do? What's your background? And why we be wanting to talk to you today? Give us some context.
Yeah. So I've been in pharmacy my whole life. My mum's a pharmacist, so I was literally raised in a pharmacy. I started working in a pharmacy when I was 10 years old, dusting shelves, dispensing since I was 14. Graduated from pharmacy school in Brisbane in '08, and in '07 actually, so during third year uni, built our first pharmacy. In 2011, I entered ownership. And then in 2019, after building that business by $4 million, we were able to successfully exit that business for 3 times the industry average multiple. And now I do entrepreneurial coaching, business strategy, and consulting to small business owners, so pharmacy and other health related businesses, to large multinational corporations as well. So yeah.
Quite the resume there.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit. So obviously having that experience in pharmacy and coming up, through the ranks yourself and experiencing the on the tools, so to speak, experience of that industry. How did that sort of transition take place for you, moving from, actually running your own pharmacy, and obviously then you, as you said, sort of exited that space? What inspired you to then go and move into this consulting area of things?
Yeah, great question. So what I found is, because we had built Australian first workflows within our pharmacy, we were getting visitors from all over the country coming to see our pharmacy, and also internationally, to learn from our systems and processes and our workflows that we had created. And I found that this was actually happening quite regularly, and I was consulting and giving away a lot of IP. And I thought, well, wait a minute. Once I exit this business, I've got a real passion for helping others on their entrepreneurial journey and actually helping build better businesses. And that's that's where I've landed now, is so I can, I guess, broaden the net, broaden the scope, and work with small businesses to help their local communities, but also larger businesses to help the businesses that they serve as well. So
Yeah, for sure. And hey, if you're good at something, don't do it for free. That's what they say, right?
yeah, that's it.
So, I mean, talk to me about it then from from a business perspective. Obviously, when you set out to become a pharmacist like yourself, you don't always envisage yourself as a business owner per se, right? Like you don't necessarily get into it for those reasons. So, I mean, what was that experience like for you? How did you go about sort of working out some of these business challenges, and what was that journey like when you were in the pharmacy yourself?
Yeah, look, I think that's a really important distinction to make, is that, we all have this altruistic tendency in the health world, and, giving can only give so much while your lights are still on. If you're not running a business and actually in the mindset of running a business, then we're actually potentially running ourselves into the ground, where we can service no one. We can't employ anyone, our business closes, and we're not doing any benefit to the community. And I think that was a really important distinction when I entered ownership, is to realize that, yes, this is a business. This is a business. I've got an obligation to ensure that I can keep the lights on, not only for my community, but for my team as well. And unfortunately, in pharmacy school and most, I guess, degrees per se, we're not given that knowledge. So the way in which I sought that knowledge was through additional training and development. I also then did extra studies in business management. and also then branched out into other industries as well. So I've did personal training, got those certificates to look at my business more holistically and the value that I can deliver to my patients from a coaching perspective as well. So when we look at personal training, that's all coaching. And then I married that coaching mindset and skill set with the managerial and business and leadership training that I've done to then, I guess, build a better business, but also ensure that I've got that mindset that this is a business, that this isn't just something that we're doing it's not a charity, it's not a not-for-profit, it is a business. And that's a really important distinction to make. So to me, that comes through a desire of lifelong learning as well, and a mindset of growth and development rather than pessimism and this is just too hard, there's competitors opening up. So just to give you some context, we were one of 13 pharmacies within a 3-kilometer radius. And we had to undergo significant change in our business to not only survive, but to thrive. And having that mindset and looking at my business strategically allowed us to do that and to develop the workflows and systems that we did to then grow the business to where we ended up. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you said there as well, right? It's about not just growing the business, but it's actually about thriving, right? Like not just surviving, it's actually about making sure that you've got that sort of ability to do the things that you want to do and support the community in the way that you want to, right? So much more than just making money. The end of the day, though, there's the reality. We've got to do X, Y, Z things, and we've got to run a business and got to meet those requirements along the way. So from your view, I mean, maybe in your own experience, or what do you see through your work, what's the biggest challenge with making that shift in mindset from, I'm a pharmacist and I'm in this healthcare space to, or as you say, with health entrepreneurs in general, maybe even outside of pharmacy, making that shift, what's the biggest challenge that you see shifting that mindset?
I think when we look at altruism and the notion of altruism, it's always the concept of doing it for free or for little financial gain, I guess. And unfortunately, that's a mindset that has been passed down through stories and, and past, I guess, influences in our life. When we look at that mindset, though, that is, to me, is a limiting belief. If we've got a purpose and our purpose might be to help people, help people on their health and well-being journey, there's no dollar value in that. However, the rewards of living our purpose come through the rewards of living our purpose are also then the financial benefits as well. So even though I'm not aspiring to, to live my purpose by making money, by living my purpose, the rewards of that are the financial gains as well. And through those financial gains, we can reinvest back into our business to then live that purpose even more. So that mindset is critical, is to know that we can still live our purpose, the rewards of which are still financial, but then use that money to then reinvest to live our purpose. So it's this cycle. And having that mindset ensures that, for me, the dirtiest word in the health industry is free. I hate that word, and I don't use hate very often, but I have a really strong distaste to it because we ourselves have ruined what we've created. We ourselves are our own worst enemy if we don't value what we do. And if we don't value what we do, we discount, we give it away for free. And then at the end of the day, it's a race to the bottom. And if we are using that mindset, that race to the bottom mindset, and just going, well, I've got to compete on their terms, then we're all racing to the bottom. Whereas if you can, and we touched on this before, if you can look at ways in which you can thrive, we're not in this game just to tread water. We want to swim. And if we look through ways to thrive and rather look at challenges as opportunities, that's where the gold truly lies.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point, right? And it's something that we've seen. I mean, not just in healthcare. I guess there's that shake-up happening at the moment, right? When you've got the likes of the dirty word Chemist Warehouse potentially sitting in there, or the big discounters and things coming in, right? And really,
so I'm going to challenge that. I'm going to challenge that dirty word because this Because at the end of the day, what they have done is actually quite remarkable. We look at Chemist Warehouse as the enemy, yet if we were in their shoes, we would be loving life. If we had done it first, we would be loving life. Because at the end of the day, they've come in and realized the gap in the market. It's like saying we all hate Bunnings. Bunnings came in and did the exact same thing that Chemist Warehouse have done. Yet Bunnings is now an Australian and international household name in the hardware industry. So why don't we have that same perception with Bunnings than we do with Chemist Warehouse? And if we look at that as a consumer, we all love Bunnings. Yet on the other end, we're going, well, wait, within our own industry, we hate Chemist Warehouse. So to me, it's going, well, how do we use the opportunities presented by Chemist Warehouse? Because they don't play in they know their lane and they play it very, very well. But to give you context, I had 2 big box discounters within 500 meters of me, turning over in excess of 35 million combined. So how was I able to then build a business, not only survive and thrive, knowing that that was there? And it is through that mindset of growth and actually recognizing the opportunities that this presented and the lane in which I would go.
So in your example, what was that lane? What were the things that when you were looking at your business, because obviously if you're looking at it and you're trying to compete in that same space, you're just not going to have the scale, you're not going to have the resources, right? Like that's a reality for most small businesses in general. Again, as you say, same thing would have happened for small hardware stores and those sort of things when Bunnings came along.
Yeah.
So to avoid the fate of those smaller hardware stores and those sort of community run businesses, what do small businesses need to be focusing on, and how can they identify those different opportunities that exist for them in that whole, I guess, pharmacy forward, that's the buzzword for it, right? Of how do we sort of start to identify those sort of opportunities?
I think it all comes down to dedicating the time to actually think about it. So for me, it actually took me 18 months to research and develop these workflows, these systems, these operations. And that was dedicated time. That wasn't, me just doing it ad hoc and things like that. That was me going around researching and developing, looking at other industries. So I looked at 4 other industries to develop the systems and processes that we did, to invest that time to strategically plan a way forward. And I think as business owners, we don't do that. We don't take the time. We do that so well for our patients. We look at our patients and we look at all their medications and we go, okay, this is your life. This is your medications. How can we strategically improve your health experience? How can we strategically optimize your medications? How can we strategically give you a better life? Yet we don't do the same for our business. We do that for our customers, but we don't take the time to do that with our business and with our team. When was the last time you, as an owner, sought feedback from your team, sought insights from your team, sat down and strategically planned with your team? And to me, that is probably where it all starts. Well, actually, it is where it all starts, is to know what your plan looks like, and then you can implement the strategy to get there. So without that, we're just doing day in, day out, day in, day out. So, and that was a critical difference for me, is taking that time and that investment to plan, and to really research my customer, to really understand what my customer wants and what not just my current customer, but what my ideal customer wants and needs. Because at the end of the day, there's no point throwing my net out. My ideal customer wasn't the same as the Chemist Warehouse customer. I made that very, very clear. And that then allowed me to strategically plan and build a pharmacy around that for that customer.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, right? It's business 101 in essence. And as you say, it's not something that gets addressed in any real professional or vocational sort of learning space, or when you're moving into a very specialist area. You learn it day one of marketing school, but you don't learn it day one of pharmacy school, which is understand your customer, make sure that you align what you're offering with what they want, and really empathize with the things that they're struggling with, right? So in terms of that, I mean, if you're looking at ways that you can start to make space for that, I know that a thing that we hear when we're talking to pharmacists all the time in our team, ultimately, is that there's a real crunch on resources, there's a crunch on time, there's a crunch on, just feeling like, as you say, you're day in, day out, you're running this race, you're trying to just keep the lights on, keep the wheels turning. So what do you say to people in that space who are just feeling like, this is great in theory, Zamil, but I just don't have time? What's your answer to that?
That is a great, great question. I'm really glad that you asked that. There's two things I always see. It's the time, which you've identified, and the how. The time constraint, we're all given 24 hours in a day. We're all given 7 days a week. That is beyond our circle of control. My question to that is, what is the risk if you do not invest the time? So at the end of the day, we all sign up. Gyms are now 24/7, right? Yet this excuse still gets used. I don't have the time to go to the gym. I don't have the time to train. Well, what's the opposite of that? By not going to the gym and making time, what is the outcome? By not investing the time in your business, then what is the outcome? And is the alternate worse? And that's it. To me, it's all about what we prioritize. And if we make something a priority and actually see the value in it and understand that value, then there will always be time. That is my response. Because at the end of the day, to me, time and the constraint of time is mindset. Because, like I said, we're all given that same amount of time. It's how we efficiently and effectively use it and purposefully use it to generate desired outcomes. So that's the first part, time. The second part is how. Now, the how comes through, obviously doing your research, understanding your customer really is a big thing. Understanding your market and the demographic that you play in. And there's plenty of resources online to really understand demographics and your demography. And then knowing how to implement systems, how to strategically plan. And that's, I guess, the lane that I play in. We all understand that what and the why. It's the how that is that most difficult part. But my biggest advice for that is seek outside help. Seek advice. At the end of the day, we learn the how through lessons. We went to university to become pharmacists to learn the how. So why don't we do that with business? Why don't we seek tuition to run our business? Yeah, we did it for our degree. Yeah, we get a $5 million loan from the bank, and we still don't do that. So to me, that's how to address those two things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think that's such a great point. I think there's a lot of pressure, as you say, in entrepreneurship or running your own business in general, to know how to do everything. And you sort of feel like, well, I'm responsible for this, and I don't have money to hire this, like a marketing person or a business a strategist or a sales development manager, or all these fancy titled people. And so we think, oh, I'll just work it out myself. I'll read a few blog posts, or I'll get a book out, or something like that. But sometimes the path of least resistance and the cheapest, ultimately, if you're weighing the costs, can be actually just going, okay, who's a specialist who can help me in this space with whatever it is, whatever challenge I'm facing. Specialization. We chatted about that in another place. Finding people who specialize in certain areas, certain skills, and really letting people play to their strengths. Just makes a whole lot of sense.
That's it. When we look at the pursuit of mastery is always facilitated with a coach or somebody to learn from. You look at, say, Roger Federer, for example. He still has a coach, and he is world number one. And, that's the point I'm trying to make, is that you can believe that whatever elite level you are, but you have a circle of influence and a network around you that still allows you to push better and refine your game. And to me, that whoever that is in your life, that is my biggest, I guess, piece of advice, is find that person or find those people and start to surround yourself with them. So, yeah.
So, looking forward, then, I mean, if you were in a position, I know you work with plenty at the moment, and you have been in this space rather yourself. What's looking forward at the next 12 months? You know, given what we've just been through, lockdowns and in and out of that sort of thing, vaccine rollouts, all these very tumultuous things going on, particularly in Australia and New Zealand. We've seen it all over the place, right? So, what do you see as your top priorities? Things that pharmacists, who if you're a pharmacy owner, what would you be focusing on for the next sort of 6, 12 months?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. And to me, that comes down to evaluating trends. And when we look at changing consumer trends, we've seen the digitization of healthcare accelerated by about 10 years as a result of COVID. So particularly in Australia, telehealth, for example, has been on the radar for the government for at least the past 10 years. It was legislated within 10 weeks. And so when we look at this really rapid acceleration and adoption, now that's the critical part, adoption of these modalities, then consumers are rapidly shifting to a very different way in which they interact with us. I guess in Australia, in particular, with the e-health rollout, we're now looking at the My Script list or the MySL, which pretty much removes the need for you to have a paper prescription. And to me, I call that paper prescription, particularly if you're using it to keep scripts on file or to generate loyalty, as the ransom note. Now, to me, in the next 12 months, as this technology gets more and more adopted, and I guess the high embracement of digital interactions, whether or not through website, through telehealth, through e-commerce, through whatever other channels, that ransom note is soon going to be gone. And so how are you going to be ensuring loyalty to your pharmacy, knowing that now that patient is less likely to be stepping within your doors, is going to be expecting more at-home service or to their destination, whether it's at their business or wherever. Where we're seeing delivery rapidly grow in Australia, particularly the investment of public funds for home deliveries, the push by government for in-home care. So how are we adapting to meet the patient and our customer beyond our four walls? That to me is the next 12 months. Is now the four walls, in my opinion, are now gone. It is now, where do we meet the patient and the customer on their terms, where they want.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, because I think it's a great way to frame it, because when you're thinking about it, it's often treated as a divide between digital and bricks and mortar, right? But it's actually becoming even more than that.
Yep.
As you're saying, with things like, even if we look at the impact that Uber, seems completely unrelated, but Uber's had on the way that we think about the way that services are offered, and that whole on-demand sort of gig economy type world that we live in.
Yep.
That's starting to permeate so many other industries, right? And thinking about it in terms of just being mobile, being flexible, being accessible, such an important part of it, right?
Yeah, that's a great example, actually. You look at the hospitality industry and the way in which they've had to diversify and pivot, and you look at the more fine dining sort of establishments. You're getting now experiences in your home delivered to you. You're getting, these beautiful curated boxes of meals that you've assembled together with your partner, with your family, even by yourself, and you're having these experiences within your own four walls. So now it's going, well, yes, of course, at the end of the day, we love to be social, and there's always going to be elements for bricks and mortar. I'm not saying that's, there's always going to be customers coming through the door, but now we need to recognize that there's also going to be customers wanting different things. And it's making sure that we are looking at those trends and recognizing those customers, because if we don't recognize those customers, they will very quickly go to a competitor that is. And if you're happy to let that customer go to a competitor, then fine, ignore it. But soon the scales will tip as we enter this more, I guess, customer-centric, on-demand style service model, because at the end of the day, everything is on demand now. There is no such thing as waiting anymore. The fact that I can get an Amazon delivery on a Sunday is only telling of that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that's it, right? Like our big word we always come back to, and it always feels a bit buzzwordy, but it's that idea of omnichannel, right? Like
Mm.
it's not one or the other, and it's not pick the one that works best for you. It's literally be everywhere.
Yeah.
Make sure that your customers can't miss you. Make sure that
Yep.
your patients, when they're, it doesn't matter whether they're sitting at home, they're sitting at work,
Yep.
they're walking down the street, they need to be able to pull out their phone, go, I need this thing, I need this advice, I need this service.
Yep.
And they need to be able to see that you are right there, that
Yep.
your business is around the corner, your business is available on their phone, your business can come to them, whatever makes sense, that you've got to be facilitating that.
Yep.
I think it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you kind of need this level of like excellence and sort of omnipotence almost for your business. But there's never been a better time as well and more accessibility to tools to be able to do that, right? Like more democratization of this technology that 10 years ago it would have only been in the hands of Chemist Warehouse, but now you've got so many things available even for free or at very affordable levels to
Yep.
be able to access.
Yep. Yeah, it's meeting them on their terms in an easy way, and that's all that is. At the end of the day, 10, 20 years ago, it took between 6 to 8 touch points to a consumer for them to make a purchasing decision. Now it's around 25. So when we look at that massive difference and the amount of data and information that we're filtering out, our brain is processing 16 trillion bits of information per second, but we're only now becoming aware. Well, our brain is filtering that amount of information to 2,000 bits.
Yeah.
But within that, there's so many marketing messages. Latest statistics say that we're receiving 20 to 30,000 marketing messages a day. So that is
nuts,
just
right?
insane. That is just
Yeah.
absolutely insane. So my I guess thing to that is, how are you going to be that point of difference? How are you going to make sure that you're just not the noise that just gets filtered out? So and it's looking at your business, it's looking at your customer, it's looking at your market to really understand what resonates and what you can do to meaningfully connect and impact your local community. So, and to me, that's all about beyond the four walls.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think as well, I mean, I'd be curious to know your perspective on this. I mean, something that we talk about a lot is we're not with the little big business side of things, and our whole ethos that we try to approach is it's about sustainability as well, right? It's about having a sustainable and realistic goals and realistic levels of growth. Because I think you see so much of this, lights and flashing, we're going to make millions of dollars overnight. We're going to, instantly, and I like what you said before about it takes time, it takes investing that time and that effort. And it's not easy. It's not a hack. It's not a just flick this on and you're going to suddenly 15, 20 times X your revenue or whatever overnight.
Yep.
And so I think that it's really important to set those goals. I mean, even listening to what you were talking about the returns you got on your business, like pretty impressive numbers by anyone's standards. But I think sometimes we think that's, when you put it in context of the Jeff Bezoses of this world and the Amazons of this world, it can feel a little bit insignificant. But in reality, that's a really amazing result for any small business owner, right?
Yep. To me, it's always looking at, we always see the analogy of the iceberg, don't we? What we see above the water is just the glimpse. It's everything below the water that makes up all the substance. So that's the same thing. And, you've just touched on that. These aren't overnight solutions. This takes determination, to grit, resilience, to actually make sure that you're sticking to this. But by having a plan, you know what you need to do. You know where you need to go or where you want to go. And then you strategically plan how to get there. And that for me is the critical part. I knew in 2000, when we refitted, it was 2015, that within 5 years' time, we're going to exit this business in one shape or form. And so all that strategic planning from that was to target that and to build the business to a point where we could successfully exit the business. And that's at the end of the day why we enter business, is to successfully exit business. And that doesn't mean you're selling. That might be you're putting it under management. That might be you're getting another junior partner involved. It could mean anything. So, and that's where knowing, I guess, what outcome you want and where you want to head allows you to strategically plan and make sure that you've allowed the time to do that. Because, there was no point us going in, say, in 2018, going, crap, yeah, we want to sell the business in 1 or 2 years. Because no way we would have had that trajectory and growth up until that point to have done what we did. So
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, this has been an amazing chat. I thought we might just round this off with a couple of more light-hearted questions, just for a bit of fun at the end. So tell me, what's just for starters, what are you reading at the moment? What media are you consuming? What's on your watch list or your reading list?
Yeah, so I'm reading Limitless by Jim Quick at the moment. So Jim Quick is an American who suffered from a traumatic brain injury when he was in kindergarten. He then had to learn how to learn again. And so I'm reading his knowledge, and he's worked with the likes of the team from Fox Studios and things like that, and, Hugh Jackman and all that with the X-Men series. And so I'm learning about that, is how to better myself to learn quicker and more efficiently, because it's, like I said before, there's just so much content out there. And there's only so much information our brain can handle, but it's for me is how can I learn quicker? So the quicker I can learn, the more I can teach. So that's what I'm reading right now. So
yeah, awesome. Sounds really interesting. I might have to hit that up as well.
Yeah, that's called Limitless. I don't know if I mentioned the title. So
yeah, awesome. Well, we can find a link to that and put it in, and when we put this up. And so tell me as well, so if you were, this is a bit of a throwback for those who aren't too familiar with Storby, which is behind Little Big Business. We used to be called Small Fish. So I like to ask, if you were a marine animal, what would you be and why?
That's a really hard question. What comes to mind first is probably a dolphin.
Oh, yeah, yep.
I love to socialize and be around people. I think I have I consider myself naturally altruistic as well. Mm-hmm. And that's why I could relate to those comments before. But yeah, I love to be around people, full of energy, extremely faithful, but also just generally nurturing and caring. So that's probably where I would sort of see myself. Plus just love swimming around in the ocean and, background in the waves. So, and that's me, I'm the guy at the beach that you see beyond the break, just having a little paddle. So
I love that.
Yeah, that's me out there. So.
Oh, I love that. Great answer. Fantastic. What a beautiful note to end this podcast on. Hey, Zamil, thank you so much for taking the time out. Really appreciate you chatting with us. This has been illuminating, and I'm sure anyone listening in has got some useful things. So before we sign off, where can people find you? Instagram, social media, LinkedIn? What's your main channels?
Yeah, so I'm across pretty much all socials. Don't play in the TikTok world yet, or the Snapchat world. So LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram are my main go-tos. Otherwise, zamilsolanki.com is where you'll find out heaps about me. But also, if you yourself consider yourself a health entrepreneur, I'm starting up what I call the Limitless Network on Facebook. So feel free to search for that on Facebook as well. So just a bunch of like-minded health entrepreneurs getting together in a peer-supported network. So
amazing. Sounds great. We'll make sure we include all links to that in the notes and everything. But I think that'll about do it for today. So I guess we'll catch up again soon, I hope.
Yeah, that sounds great, Ruben. Awesome chatting.
All right. Cool. Thanks, everyone. Ka kite.